Hey guys, and welcome to Gwent. My name is Jaggerus, and today I have a ranked consume monsters deck for you guys, and that is my Dagon Arachas army deck. Now, you don't have to use Dagon. I like Dagon because having the option of weather is really nice if one of their rows kind of gets out of control. And alternatively, you can always just use the first light to draw a rally effect. Alternatively, if they weather you, you can use the first light to save your butt. But some people do like to run ghouls. If you want to run ghouls, you know, by all means, do it. But I just feel like his ability of adding 2 strengths to all non-gold units on your battle side is superfluous, because at the point at which we have a lot of units with this deck, we probably have enough points to win anyway, so it doesn't seem that necessary. Anyway, this is my consume deck, the Arachas Vran Warrior consume deck. And in terms of our gold cards, we have Igni, because Igni is a fantastic card. I say this every single time I do a deck with Igni in it, which is quite often. Destroy the strongest non-gold unit on the opposite row if that row totals 20 or more. We've got Caretaker, resurrect a non-gold, non-permadeath unit from the opposing graveyard. Again, can be really useful just to get things out of your opponent's graveyard, but also you get to play them, so there's the added benefit there. And then we have Avalash. Draw 2 cards. The opposing player draws 1 card. So this is just for card advantage. You give them 8, but you get to draw 2 cards. They draw 1. Then we have Kran. Destroy 3 non-gold units on your side and absorb their strength at base. So you use this to absorb points into your deck, which stops them from being removed by your opponent. And it also will end up buffing your Nekkers because they have consume synergy. So then we have our silver cards. We've got our 3 crones. Crones are great in monsters just to get points on the board. You play 1 crone, it plays the other 2 from your deck, and you gain 20 points with 1 play, which is fantastic. So 20 points in 1 play, pretty good, right? It also thins your deck, which means you're more likely to find the cards that you need. We've got a Okvist. After 4 turns, remove 1 strength from all opposing non-gold units. This actually synergizes nicely with weather, because if you play Okvist and then you play weather just before he triggers, it will actually kill everything on that row. So that is an option with the Okvist, a little bit of synergy there. Also, he comes back into your hand after that trigger, so it helps with card advantage. If you get the Octopus back, you can then, play him again. And then we have Giant Toad. Discard a non-gold unit, absorb its strength, then draw a card. So you discard 1 card from in your hand, absorb its strength, so it goes onto the board anyway, and then you draw a card, which will also then buff your Nekkers. Or trigger your Arachas Behemoths. Then we have our Old Spear Tip. Old Spear Tip asleep is a 4 strength unit. You play him on a row, and it adds 1 strength to all other non-gold units on the row. But if there's 3 or more units on the opposite row, he will then transform into the 8 strength Old Spear Tip Awake, remove 2 strength from all non-gold units on the opposite row, so he buffs your row and debuffs the other row, basically, as this transformation happens. And he can transform, like, there and back. Like, he can kind of keep transforming between the 2 and buffing and debuffing, throughout the round. Okay, so then we go on to our bronze cards. We have 1 Lacerate, 1 Dimeritium Shackles, and 1 Alza's Thunder. Dimeritium Shackles is really nice because you can use it on a gold card, and then you can caretaker that gold card from your opponent on the next round. Alternatively, you can buff up your Kren loads by eating lots of strong things, and then use your Dimeritium Shackles on the Kren, and then pass, which means that then your monster's ability will actually keep the Kren, so you'll keep a ton of points, basically, in doing that strategy. So that's why we have the Shackles. Lacerate is just generally good for removing points, and we've got an Alza's Thunder to remove any problem card we might find. Then in terms of our units, we've got the 3 Nekker Warriors. While in hand, deck, or on the battlefield, gain 1 strength whenever a Devourer on your side absorbs strength. When removed from the battlefield, play a Nekker from your deck. We've got 3 of those, but we've also got the Nekker Warriors. Create on the bottom of your deck 2 base copies of a bronze unit of your side of the battlefield, which we can use to then add more Nekkers, so that we can kind of have a chain of Nekkers going throughout the game. Then we have our Arachas Behemoth. Spawn an Arachas whenever a Devourer on your side absorbs strength. So this will spawn a 3 strength little spider in the middle row whenever something absorbs strength. And then we have our Vran Warriors. Every 2 turns at the end of your turn, destroy the unit on the right and absorb its strength. So then we can use the Vran Warriors to kind of eat things, which starts to trigger the Behemoths to spawn, more spiders, which they can eat, or the Nekkers like to get buffed. You can kind of see how this is going to start to kind of snowball out of control. Anyhow, without further ado, I will jump into a game and showcase this deck. And remember, if you do like the deck, then hit that thumbs up button, guys.
Naivety is a fool's blessing.
Okay, so we're up against ghouls, which is monsters. This is most likely consume then rather than weather, though occasionally it's weather. In terms of the mulligan, you want to get rid of any extra crones. You only want to keep 1 crone. Specifically, preferably the 8 strength crone. So we'll mulligan this crone. We're also looking to make sure we have at least 1 Nekker, and Nekker Warriors are nice. Vran Warrior is also nice, but then we could really do with an Arachas. I'm going to keep Lacerate, but I'm going to mulligan the Alza's Thunder, I think. There's the Arachas I was looking for. Spear Tip, Giant Toad. I'm going to actually leave it at this, because I don't want to risk drawing an extra crone, basically. That is something that we do not want to do, so let's not do that. Opponent's turn. Right, come on. Why is he all glowy? This is cool. I don't remember noticing this glowy effect. I guess maybe that's to tell you whose turn it is. Maybe it'll glow at like my side of the board when it's my turn. Kind of the little things that you don't necessarily pay attention to. What have you got? So in terms of the first round, you're kind of looking to duplicate your Nekkers. So we'll throw out a Nekker, we'll throw out a Nekker warrior, and then we'll probably throw out the crones and kind of be done with it. Depending on what this person chooses to do. I'm not convinced they even... Well, they did mulligan, because I didn't have to wait for them after my mulligan, so... Maybe it's someone who just likes to waste your time. This does happen sometimes. People will just wait till, like, the very last second to play their card. Okay, so he's played an Arachas Behemoth. So we'll pop out our Nekker for now. We don't really have much we can do about his consume strategy, should he choose to play it. But that is what it is. Now, we do have our Toad in hand, so the alternative strategy we could have done here is played the Arachas Behemoth, played the Vran Warrior, and then eaten the Nekker with the giant Toad, which would have then caused the Arachas Behemoth to spawn a little spiderling. He's passing? I don't understand. I'm going to just play my crone. I'm going to win by a lot of points, but that's absolutely fine because I win by a lot of points, but also I thin my deck. I'm only at 1 card disadvantage and I keep an 8, so this is fine. Maybe he just got a bad hand. You know, potentially just drew poorly. We do have our Avalanche in hand, so we can always play that on the next turn to regain card advantage, which is nice. We get our Nekker out, so I'm not too worried about that because we've got the Nekker Warrior obviously to trigger. We've got a couple of Arachas. We've got a couple of Vran Warriors, so lots of nice draw there, to be honest. So what we'll do for now, throw out the Nekker and duplicate the Nekkers here.
So what's our plan?
There's... Witchers. I don't know why you'd run Witchers instead of Crones, unless he maybe couldn't afford Crones but already had Witchers. So what we're going to do here is we are going to pop a Vran Warrior on this row here where the Nekker is, and he will eat things to his right. And then we'll put a Arachas Behemoth in the back row, which will start spawning the units in the middle row, basically. And you can see he's going to start doing a similar strategy. So if we pop out our Behemoth now, that triggers he eats the Nekker. We spawn a new Nekker from our deck because we've duplicated them. And the Nekkers will get buffed, and then the Spiderling starts to spawn in the middle. And you can see he's going for a similar strategy here. But what we can actually do is we can always lacerate this middle row. We've got, you know, a turn to wait before we have to do it. So we may as well put our own Vran Warrior on the middle row, like so. And then we've got a turn where we can lacerate this row should we want to, and stop him from basically eating anything else. Because obviously at the moment he's waiting a couple turns and he's going to start eating things. But if we kill the Spiderlings, he has nothing to eat. So that is the tactic that we're using our lacerate for. The eat happens, we get more Arachas. And we could play another Arachas. That's an option, and start spawning kind of more units in the middle. The alternative is that we use our giant Toad to eat the Arachas and then potentially draw something good. But it really depends on what kind of situation you're in. Like if I really needed a Vran Warrior, for example, I could definitely do that. We do have K-Ran in hand, which is nice. Because what we can do is we can eat some of these units. But the thing is we don't have a Dimmertium Shackles, so K-Ran's not going to get protected. But what he is going to do is he is going to buff our Nekkers. Which could be nice going into the next round because, you know, we've eaten 2 Nekkers and we've discarded 1. So we've only actually got, I think, 1 or 2 more Nekkers in this deck. The alternative is that we Giant Toad the Arachas to try and find a Nekker Warrior. That is definitely an option. So he's managed to ekimara. Let's see what we can do. We can actually spear tip the front row, and in doing that, we would debuff these cards and buff our own. It's whether I want to play the other Arachas and just let the eating happen. Do we just let them feast? You know, that is the question. I think we Toad it. I think we need to try and find a few more Nekkers. So we'll eat this. I mean, you get the strength out anyway. It just means we don't spawn as many Arachas. And maybe this is a mistake, but we did get the Nekker Warrior, which is what I was looking for. So that's quite nice. And with our positioning, what we can actually do here is we can position our Nekker Warrior in between these two to delay the eating of the Nekker, which means that then more of the Nekkers get buffed, which is nice. The alternative is what we do. So we place this in here. We obviously duplicate our Nekkers, which are going to get buffed. He eats this, which then buffs the Nekkers in our deck. And we could always actually K-Ran this Vran Warrior. And in K-Ranning the Vran Warrior, what we're going to succeed in doing is basically stopping him from eating everything. We probably want to avalanche this turn, even though we're quite far ahead. You know, avalanching this turn is probably a good time to do it. Basically, it'll give us 2 cards and him 1. It gives him 8 points, but I can kind of deal with that. Okay, we got shackles, so now we definitely want to play Kayran this turn because we can then shackles him right at the end. So I'm going to basically go more or less all in this turn. We've got Igni, so we can destroy anything that becomes hugely problematic, which is nice. The only thing is, obviously, with the Kayran, is you need to shackles it, like, after they've kind of passed, and he's not necessarily going to pass, because then they can remove it. But there's his Igni, and that's actually really good for us, because now that he's Ignied, what that basically means is that we can feel kind of quite safe about playing our Kayran. In terms of our Igni, we probably want to Igni... We probably want to let this guy eat more and then Igni him. What I will do for now, I think, is I will spear tip the... We could spear tip the middle row, but it won't necessarily transform. But we would gain more points that way. So we would gain a bunch of points this way. Here we would gain 1, 2, and then debuff 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's put him in this row, I think. I think this is enough points. Because then he transforms and it also shoots him. And I think that would be more points than if we'd buff the middle row. Okay, so next round we'll Kayran, then we'll Igni, and then we'll Shackles. And that'll kind of be the strategy, I guess. I mean, remember, he does have ghouls, so he can, you know, give these guys a lot of points. And that's definitely something that he's probably thinking about doing. But the problem is then, what is your win condition? Because we still have, you know, plenty of Nekkers to pull out, which is nice. Okay, we can now Igni this one. But we can wait a turn to do it. So what we're going to do, throughout the Kayran, we are going to eat this Vran warrior. We're going to eat the Brewis. We're going to get lots of points here. And you can see this is buffing and also spawning more Arachas. And we're going to eat an Arachas. Num 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 num. And we can then Igni his 15. Actually, it'll be a 17. The thing is, he can't pass until we pass, so this is kind of fine for us. We can't weather the front row, but we can definitely weather the back row. So, in actual fact, we might be able to play this entire round and still win it. Because if we weather the back row, we lose 6 points. And he loses... Holy crap, he loses a lot of points. But does he have clear skies? That is then the question. Alternatively, we Igni the back row and we remove 26 points. So we could Igni 26 points, but we can't weather the middle row. So maybe we Igni 17 and then weather the back row. Because he knows we have weather. So we'll pop that. We'll burn up his Arachas, stop them, you know, triggering any more eat effects. We're continuing to just, like, eat a lot, which is nice. And he must know the weather is coming, right? The other thing is this just kind of draws out his cards, which is nice. He's going to Caretaker something. So Caretaking of Vran Warrior actually unlocks it, so that's something to know. We're definitely going to rain on his parade here. The only problem is if we do rain, if we unlock our card, we're going to lose all of the points. So that's something to just be aware of. But I want to see what he has first, right? See if he has a clear skies. Doesn't look like it. The problem is if we shackles our Kayran, then we'll lose 39 points, so he would actually be winning. Alternatively, I think we just shackles his Vran Warrior. Oh, I could have shackled his Grave Hag. I probably should have shackled the Grave Hag, actually. That would have been smarter. Although, actually, I don't feel like this is going to gain that many points. Yeah, he doesn't actually have any units in his graveyard. So Grave Hag does nothing. Hey, and look at that, we actually won. And we won 2 rounds in a row. Although he's just drawn 2 cards. Oh, I've drawn 1. It's not over. Crazy. Maybe he drew First Light. We can Caretaker, but he doesn't got anything in his graveyard, so we gonna pass. We gonna pass. We didn't get to shackles our Kayran, which I wanted to do, but you know that's just an option. And just be aware that you know if you shackles your Kayran, sometimes your Vran Warrior might eat things, and then that'll cause it to not get kept. If he has a shackles here, I'm gonna be so salty. Is he gonna get enough points from this? Oh, I have no idea. Not yet. I'm going to eat something that's going to buff my Nekker. We're going to, you know, draw another Arachas. I'm still 13 points ahead. Hey, that is game. And that's kind of the consume deck. Basically, that's like the kind of perfect way that you play it, where you just get the eating and nobody kind of interferes with you. That's kind of what you want to happen. If people start interfering with you, you can have to, you know, jump through a few hoops. But all in all, it's a really, really strong deck. And I do definitely, you know, recommend you try it out if you're kind of into this kind of strategy. Anyway, guys, that's kind of it from me for today. Sorry for the shorter video. It's Easter, so I've got to kind of... I'm just a bit limited on time, so we're only going to have one match today. But if you've liked this video, do hit that thumbs up button. And remember that you can find me live streaming at twitch.tv/Jaggerus. You can follow me on Twitter at Jaggerus. And you can always rate the videos, or the decks, sorry, on Gwent DB and on Gwentify too, if you want to support me as a content creator. Beyond that, have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye!